33 minutes past 9. Seabass and Gloria, the AutoQuest Morning Show. 98.7 FM, The Gator, the classic rock station. We have Ray Manzarek, the keyboardist for The Doors, on the phone with us. And Ray, everyone's heard about that crazy show in Miami. I've heard 14 million different stories. Now, what really happened?
I don't know, man. Jim was in front of me. Did he pull it out or not? I can't tell. He was slightly in front of me, so I don't know that it ever happened, actually.
Right.
The thing that I think is that we're 200 photographs in evidence at the trial. We're on trial in Miami for obscenity and exposure, drunkenness, and simulation of oral copulation. I mean, that was the one that got me. Simulation of oral copulation. Is there actually a charge? I mean, what kind of law is that? Not doing it, but simulating it.
Right.
And what that was Jim was on his hands and knees in front of Robbie's guitar, kneeling in front of Robbie as Robbie's playing his guitar solo in Light My Fire, and Jim's kind of weaving his hands back and forth in front of Robbie's guitar, mesmerized by the fingers.
Sure.
Somebody saw Jim kneeling in front of Robbie Krieger and said, my God, he's simulating oral copulation. That's what he's doing. He's giving him a you-know-what job.
Well, Jim actually used to do that all the time. I mean, watch
Exactly.
Robbie play.
I mean, talk about dirty minds. I mean, these people in Miami, come on. Are you guys insane? This is a charge. So anyway, there are photos of Jim doing that. There are photos of the stage collapsing. There are photos of people being thrown off. There are photos of all of us being splattered with paint. There was somebody was throwing, thank God it was a water-based paint, like tempera paint or something like that, poster paints. I mean, there's photos of Jim in that crazy hat that some guy gave him, and
Right.
there's photos of everything. There is not one single photo of Jim exposing himself. Not one photo in evidence has the ivory shaft in it. And you would think that somebody would have snapped when Jim, if he whipped it out, wouldn't somebody have taken a picture? Did everyone stop in shock and said, there it is, my God, and it was a frozen moment in time? I don't think so. So that's what leads me to believe that it actually never happened,
Well, we have some excerpts from that show in Miami, that crazy show, and here Morrison obviously is feeling pretty good. Very ugly.
You're all a bunch of f***ing idiots! Letting people tell you what you're gonna do! Letting people push you around! How long do you think it's gonna last? How long are you gonna let it go on? How long are you gonna let them push you around? How long? Maybe you like it. Maybe you like being pushed around. Maybe you love it. Maybe you love getting your face stuck in the shit. Come on. Maybe you love getting pushed around. You love it, don't you? You love it. You're all a bunch of slaves. Bunch of slaves. You're all a bunch of slaves. Letting everybody push you around. What are you gonna do about it? 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 What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Morrison totally out of control at the show in Miami. And then the Doors attempted to play Touch Me, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Morrison at this point had just left the stage, but everything was cool after the show, right? I mean, then you guys went where? Jamaica?
Exactly.
And then-
exactly. I mean, we were sitting upstairs with the cops who were part of the security force and sharing a beer. They were off hours, so the show was over, so they could have a beer. Jim threw one of the cops' hats into the audience, so we had to reimburse the cop for his hat, and we said, "How much is the hat?" And the guy said, "Well, that'll cost me $35." And our manager said, "Well, here's a 50, man. Here's for the hat and for your troubles." And hey, cool. Here's to you, mate. And we all beers and everything, so everything worked out fine. And then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 days later, Bill calls us and says, "Hey, you got to get back to Miami. You're arrested. You're busted." How can we be busted, man? We're in Jamaica. We're in Guadeloupe. Dorothy and I were on a French island. He said, "No, it's after the fact. They said that if they had arrested you there would have been a riot." And we all said, "Hey, BS.
Really?
Get out of here, man. We were drinking with the cops, for God's sake. What's going on here?" So the whole thing became like a big political kind of scandal. The judge was up for re-election, and it was a big political. They were going to stop rock and roll once and for all in Florida.
Well, that whole Miami thing really took a toll on Jim, didn't it?
Oh, man, he was still, when he went to Paris, he was still up on trial. You know, I mean, the Miami trial was over. He was found guilty on 2 charges, not guilty on 2, and we had sent it on to the state Supreme Court, appealed to the state Supreme Court, and it was in the state court. It hadn't come to trial at the state court yet. So, yeah, it was, I mean, he would have been... They told him, "You know what, boy? You're going to do 3.5 years in Rayford."
Oh, great.
So can you imagine going to Rayford for 3.5 years? Man, Jim was paralyzed. He was petrified. I mean, it just sucked all the energy out of him, the fear of being in a place like that, you know. One day he could do overnight, but 3 years in Rayford? No way.
Well, I've been down so goddamn long. Come on, set me free.
Woo, Jimbo has the prison blues there at 98.7 FM The Gator. It's the All Request Morning Show. Seabass, Gloria, and Ray Manzarek of The Doors on the phone with us. And Ray, I got to tell you, man, I can't wait for the Laserdisc to come out with all this rare Doors stuff. It's going to be super cool.
I think you're going to enjoy it. It's, I mean, you'll get to really see the real Jim Morrison. You know, if you like the movie, the Doors movie, you're going to love the Laserdisc, because the Laserdisc is going to show you the real Jim Morrison, man. You can watch Morrison himself doing all the things that Val Kilmer was imitating in the movie.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to Oliver Stone about that movie, I guess it was about a year or so ago, and I asked him about the portrayal of Jim in the movie and how they really just presented that one side of Jim, a dark side. And here's what Oliver Stone had to say about that.
Well, I think Jim was a dark soul. He was half in love with death, and yes, he was a prankster. He kidded around a lot. I tried to show some of that in the movie. That he was a rebel. He was born to die in a sense. He was a poet. He was in love with death, and all his lyrics, all his poetry described death in a metaphoric way. So I think that he was, he died at the age of 27. I think that was, in a sense, a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to tell you, Ray, we have to run now. We're a little bit short on time. Have to make way here for Keith Van Allen in about 15 minutes. But I got to tell you, man, on behalf of Gloria and Svinky and Big Cheek Meteorologist and myself, thank you very, very much for taking the time to chat with us this morning. It's been really special.
Everybody down in West Palm Beach, and all the, as far as you guys go, the whole Miami area, I suppose, God bless you, and have a, have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year, and don't forget, we're taking over in the year 2000. It belongs to the lovers. The world belongs to the lovers, and we're going to take this whole thing over and change it to the beautiful planet that it can be. All right?
All right, Ray.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okie doke. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ray Manzarek of The Doors.